Let's say you were hanging out at your friend's farm when you hear thumping in the distance. Over the hill you see a line of hobgoblins marching towards you. Then another. The type of enemy you face will depend on the genre of campaign you're playing in. If the campaign is about defending against a huge impending mortal army, you might find yourself fighting against hobgoblins. There are 3 types of hobgoblins: soldiers, archers, and generals. Let's recall knowledge on the hobgoblin, starting with the soldier. First, the traits. The most interesting traits of the hobgoblin are that they are goblins, except instead of chaotic evil, they're lawful evil. While goblins are spontaneous and destructive, hobgoblins are hierarchical and regimented. In other words, hobgoblins are goblins that hate fun. Hobgoblins even speak goblin. That doesn't necessarily mean they're allies. In fact, it might be the opposite. Like the real world, neighboring countries often dislike each other the most. Let's compare the soldiers' weapons. Hobgoblins have long swords and short bows. While the short bow is ranged and does extra damage on a critical hit, the longsword does significantly more damage. However, the key hobgoblin ability is formation. All 3 hobgoblin creatures have the formation ability, which gives a hobgoblin an AC bonus if they are next to at least 2 other allies. That means there's an optimal placement for hobgoblin opponents to be in. Hobgoblins should at least be in a line, so that each hobgoblin has 2 allies adjacent to it. But you'll notice that the hobgoblins at the end of the line don't get the bonus, since they only have 1 adjacent ally. One solution is to put 1 more hobgoblin in the rear line on the ends. Now, all of these hobgoblins benefit from the formation AC bonus. However, it's not particularly efficient, since the hobgoblins in the rear can't easily attack. They could switch to the short bow, they would just take a penalty for attacking through lesser cover. There's a better answer though: the archer. The hobgoblin archer is a higher creature level than the soldier and often acts as the captain of a band of soldiers, but otherwise it's very similar, including having the formation ability. Archers use crossbows, and we can compare the hobgoblin archer that uses a crossbow versus a soldier that uses a short bow. The crossbow has a better range, does more damage, and gets bonus damage every round instead of just on a critical hit. The only disadvantage to a crossbow is that it requires 1 action to reload. However, hobgoblin archers have the running reload ability. Running reload lets the archer stride and reload with a single action, so it's not a huge burden to have to reload. The hobgoblin archer also has perfect aim, which means they ignore targets' concealed condition, mostly applicable in fog since they have dark vision, and they ignore targets' lesser cover and reduce the bonus from regular cover by 2. Remember, lesser cover was one of the disadvantages of using ranged attackers in the hobgoblin formation's back line. With the archers, they can ignore lesser cover and shoot through the front line while still ensuring all the hobgoblins benefit from the formation AC bonus. While there are many different formations of hobgoblin bands you might encounter, which one depends on your level and the difficulty of the encounter. Let's explore the effectiveness of these formations by going back to the soldier. Soldiers have 2 reactions. The first is reactive strike, or attack of opportunity, which gives the soldier a free attack against opponents that move, manipulate, or use ranged attacks in melee range. Reactive strike gives the hobgoblin bands the ability to trap opponents against their marching front line. If you're caught there, both 3 soldiers and any of the archers can potentially use their strikes against you. If you try to stride away in any way, 3 of them will get reactive strikes. That's a total of 8 strikes with no multiple attack penalty. Once you're taken care of, they can continue their march forward. Soldiers also have shields. To use a shield, they must spend an action to raise a shield, which grants a +2 to AC. However, it does not stack with the formation bonus. It does enable them to use shield block as a reaction, which requires a raised shield. The hobgoblin's shield block cancels out up to 3 damage, but anything more than that is taken by the hobgoblin and the shield. Critically, both reactive strike and shield block are reactions, so it might be possible to draw out a hobgoblin band's shield blocks with weak area attacks, then stride away with significantly less reactive strikes levied against you. How can hobgoblins move as a unit in order to trap you? When turn order is established with initiative, there's a good chance allies will not act right before or after other allies. So if a hobgoblin strides forward in a march, they will lose their formation bonus, and you might get a turn to take advantage of the broken formation. However, hobgoblins can delay until the final hobgoblin takes their turn. Then all hobgoblins can take their turns one after another. This can be an incredibly deadly strategy. Each hobgoblin then strides forward, strikes, and either strikes again or raises a shield. If this happens repeatedly, opponents will take many well-coordinated strikes one after another without getting a chance to heal or escape. Finally, the general. The general has a creature level of 6, but otherwise is fairly simple. They have a glaive weapon which has reach, breach, meaning they could potentially attack from the rear line, they would still have to hit through lesser cover. The general's special ability is General's Cry, which activates as soon as they roll initiative. The general demoralizes an opponent, and if successful, all Hobgoblin allies can stride twice as their first action in a turn. This ability helps a Hobgoblin band trap opponents against their formation. Here's how. If it's your turn, you might think it's a good idea to get behind the Hobgoblin formation to first get rid of the more powerful allies in the back, but also avoid the soldiers' attack of opportunities or reactive strikes. In order to do that, you need to stride a fairly long distance, and might end up using all of your actions. But if you don't do that, the Hobgoblins can use their General's Cry and essentially close the entire distance with a single action, up to 50 feet. The main restriction to General's Cry is that the Hobgoblins' double stride must be their first action of the whole combat. Does that mean they can't use a delay, since that's a free action? I'm honestly not sure. A delay doesn't spend an action, but it is an action. In conclusion, Hobgoblins attack in large armies but can be fought in smaller bands. They use delay to stay in formation and attack in unison, trapping opponents against the front line. The archers are the leaders of smaller bands and shoot from behind the infantry.